Alrighty, guys, welcome back. It's your boy EQ, and up next we have why Drake just crashed out and was being weird to Kendrick again. Shout out to Fantastic Hip Hop for the video. And does it really surprise anyone that Drake is crashing out yet again? I feel like every other week the dude is showing us just how bothered he still is, and now with him seeing how successful Kendrick Lamar's Grand National Stadium tour is, it's just a matter of time before he files another addendum to the lawsuit to include everything about that tour, including the names of all the fans in attendance, because guys, we're all next. And all jokes aside, I know it may sound crazy, but would it actually be unexpected the way Drake and his team has been moving? He's just going to file the first ever reverse class action lawsuit, because with some of the already questionable moves we've already seen, it definitely seems to be still on the board. He's managed to outdo himself with every move made, just tarnishing his reputation even further. And maybe his lawyers know something that we don't, but from the outside looking in, that case really seems hopeless. Because UMG very well could just show all of Drake's receipts over the last 15 years and expose that he, in fact, is probably the biggest perpetrator of the very same things he's alleging others of doing. So enough dilly-dallying, let's jump right into the video, where we have why Drake just crashed out and was being weird to Kendrick again. And that sounds honestly like the whole past year, for Drake at least.
Now, when it comes to Drake, right now this guy is absolutely fried, because with Kendrick Lamar's tour currently going on, and as a result, there has just never been more proof that Drake really may have taken the worst loss of all time as Not Like Us and
1000%. If it wasn't the worst loss ever, it was probably the worst reaction to a loss we have ever seen. Because the dude has done things that we haven't seen anyone that has lost to beef do. We can look back at Meek Mill. We can look back at Ja Rule. A lot of them got clowned. Now, honestly, I look at them with a little more respect because Aubrey has definitely earned the moniker Lawbrey, something that obviously isn't hip-hop and super hypocritical when he himself was throwing mud. It just obviously didn't stick.
his greatest victory lap is happening all over the place. Drake is not taking this well, and now with this, as Kendrick is getting so much attention and Drake has never been a bigger joke. He is just spiraling out and embarrassing himself like we have never seen. And while the rest of us are ready to see Kendrick continue his run and make hip-hop history, Drake...
And the crazy thing about it all is the fact that that tour is just getting underway. The dude is just going to get more comfortable, honestly.
Drake has been in his little corner once again to try and convince his fans and remaining delusional supporters that there is still a game 2 and that he can still win it. And now, before we go any further into this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And now, as we are in such a great time for hip-hop where Kendrick is never winning more and Drake is only about to do more humiliating stuff very clearly, really be sure to leave that like and subscribe. And so now, with that said, when it comes to Drake, man, the stuff that this guy is doing is such a joke and it's so embarrassing that it's hard to even talk about it with a straight face anymore, because with what Drake is doing now,
I don't think we could have ever talked about this with a straight face. Honestly, since the beef, the dude has only done stuff that really just make us just question his line of thinking, with move after move that just didn't make sense.
Now, it's really just reaching a new level of delusion than we have ever seen, and is really just showing that with so many yes men and fans who are still sticking by this guy, and even worse than that, acting like he can do no wrong and that he has not had the most embarrassing downfall in hip-hop and maybe even music and media history, that Drake will just spin any narrative that they want to hear. And with everything he is doing, he so clearly no longer cares about his rap legacy and place in the all-time rankings in hip-hop, or even just the music industry in general, and instead only cares about the strange and weird impact he can have with these people who are obsessed with somebody whose entire identity has been built around trying to cope with losing. And now this time around,
well, I mean, his entire identity was basically built on sand. He obviously didn't have a very strong foundation, which is why he's reacting like this. Because you truly see who a person is when they finally face some type of adversity. The dude seems to have always had a silver spoon in his mouth. I mean, the dude was an actual child star, so he obviously had a head start. But it's like that old adage I always like to bring up from Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they got punched in the face. And Drake obviously got punched in the face and did not know how to react. And instead of taking the loss with some dignity, the dude literally became the biggest sore loser I have ever seen anyway.
This and response Drake has had to Kendrick's new wave of success and with his current tour, even for his standards, which are about as low as they possibly can get. Compared to that, what Drake has done now is absolutely ridiculous, because once again with his good old posts, which are both from his real and plot twist pages, Drake is creating a whole fantasy all to respond and try and give off this idea to his fans that he is still ahead of Kendrick Lamar and that somehow he is the one who is actually in the lead, and also that he is still going to create a moment where everybody is going to find out that he will win what he thinks is going to be a game 2 or a round 2. And now with this, the first
Kendrick Lamar said, man, there's no round 2s. He truly doesn't have anything to gain from that at all. It's only Drake that really needs this to save face. But if the dude goes through another trouncing again and gets mollywopped for the second time, how does this dude pivot from that? He's already shown that he can't pivot from the first defeat.
First thing that Drake put up as Kendrick Lamar started this tour and new run is put up a picture of his and OVO 40's travel log, which shows a record all the way back from 2008. And now what is significant about this is that it features a record between Drake and his team and Aftermath Records, which is of course Dr. Dre's label. And now with this, it shows some of the trips and meetings and interactions that Drake had with Dr. Dre or somebody from his team. And with this, what Drake was clearly trying to say and allude to his fans and tell everybody is that despite Kendrick Lamar signing and joining up with Dr. Dre and being mentored by him for so much of his career, is that according to Drake, Dre wanted him first, I guess. And I mean, with this, what are we even supposed to say about this? Because really, with Drake pulling up something like this, which literally happened almost 20 years ago,
it literally doesn't mean anything anymore. He's obviously trying to spin a narrative very badly. Actually, he's been spinning terrible narratives since last year. This guy's just shooting randomly, hoping he just lands something.
And at that, all to try and get some sort of a gotcha moment on Kendrick? Well, first off, I'm
Not at
sure
all.
if Dre was your mentor, he would not want anything to do with you right now, just like we saw with the one you actually have in Wayne right now. But beyond just that, when we look at Drake doing this and see how Kendrick Lamar is right within the present moment, as he is on the biggest tour we have ever seen from a rapper right now, and at that, all while he is just leveling up and creating a better future for the genre he is the face of as a whole. I mean, compare this to Drake not being stuck in the recent past, but a past that is going so far back, that once again, when you see where these two are at, it is just so laughable. And for Drake, who even cares about this? Because
Absolutely no one at all. At the end of the day, Drake, during that time, was the hottest thing out. But doesn't it make sense that Dr. Dre would be linking up with this dude? And even with all that being said, Dr. Dre was always going to be more loyal to Kendrick Lamar, a once-in-a-generation talent from his very own backyard.
Because ultimately, all of this means nothing now, but beyond just Drake trying to pull up a 20-year-old receipt to have a gotcha moment on Kendrick Lamar, what Drake is also
There's
doing
many
here
artists
is
that
what he
Dr.
does
Dre was
best,
mentoring.
which is just to talk things up as much as he can and try to lead people
Like, people forgot about the game. He was Dr. Dre's protege as well, and look how that turned out.
into believing that he has way more going on than he actually does, because with now other posts and everything else Drake is alluding to there, he's not portraying himself out to be the softest rapper or somebody who says they lost their career and everything they had to Kendrick Lamar in paperwork, and instead
If you're still trying to re-engage, doesn't that make some of the claims in this lawsuit erroneous just off that? If you're claiming that this beef really did destroy your career, why would you go and try to re-engage? Like I said earlier, the very same things he's saying that other people are conspiring to do against him, he's been allegedly doing this to other people for a very long time. This guy is so lost. This guy responded like 5 times, man. This guy is such a hypocrite.
he's trying to drop the whole image of being the first guy to bring paperwork into a rap beef because he lost so bad to his fans, and then he's trying to act like a tough guy once again who is just gonna run everything as soon as he comes back with more music. And now here what Drake is doing is hinting to even more stuff
That can't be the case when you still haven't overtaken Kendrick Lamar in the charts. And like I've said before on this channel, if the only thing you had to gloat about was numbers and being number 1, and that's not the case anymore, what does this say when the other dude literally beats you in all the other categories, whether it's critical acclaim or just flat out hits? I'm pretty sure that's going to create some type of identity crisis.
dropping very soon.
He doesn't know
I guess
who he
something
is.
that he thinks
Maybe
is
he
going to
never
make him
knew who he
feared and
was.
intimidated by other rappers and maybe even Kendrick Lamar again. And now what many people are speculating that Drake is hinting to dropping first is going to be a deluxe version of SSS for You that is going to be Scary Hours 4. And then within that, it is going to have a timestamp record on it, or maybe we'll just have a collection of timestamp records, because with Drake showing off a picture of him with 4 different watches on it, again, as he puts more details into these pictures than in his actual songs.
Well, I mean, the last timestamp record happened, what, like 8 years ago at this point?
A lot of people already think, and it really does seem like Drake is going to be actually dropping straight rapping tracks very soon. And I mean, while this small group of OVO fans left think that Drake is going to be getting back and dissing everyone who wronged him and that it will be such a big and important moment, in actuality, even if he did a Scary Hours record now with all timestamp tracks,
It's not
what
gonna
would
hit
he
the
even
same.
do other than just embarrass himself even more than he already has by trying to make his suit and all of the other pathetic stuff come off even more weird? As I guess Drake would either be trying to make it sound cool here, or he would just be ignoring it and dissing people once again and then showing how much of a hypocrite he really is. But now, beyond Drake being bad at making music and being a hypocrite in terms of how he represents himself as a rapper, when it comes to this silent meltdown that Drake is having and these
This meltdown is anything but silent. I feel like we're hearing something for his camp like every day now.
responses to Kendrick Lamar, they did not stop there, and really what it seems like the message Drake is trying to send now is that in the greater picture of this all, he is going to be winning a Game 2 very soon when this new music drops, and beyond just a potential timestamp record or
I
a
cannot
Scary
concur.
Hours project, what the bigger thing Drake is teasing and has been trying to build up to for quite some time in the background is this idea and concept of the Iceman. And now what this will be is either the title of his next album or the next persona that he is going to try to cosplay to look cool with. And now what Drake did when he hinted towards more new music and this idea that he was gonna win a Game 2 versus Kendrick was something very similar to what he did the first time he said this, which if you remember then was when he quoted Rasheed Wallace with his iconic line from the Detroit Pistons 2004 playoff run in a post-game interview where he said they will win Game 2 no matter what. And this time around, what Drake did instead of the NBA was lean further into the whole idea of the ice, as he cryptically alluded to the NHL this time, as after his team from his home in the
Instead of doing all this foolishness and just tarnishing your reputation and just making you look even crazier, how about just try to string together some hits? Like a follow-up to Nokia or something, instead of trying to re-engage with Kendrick and face a repeat of what happened last year, which is honestly still continuing into this year. And Drake and the rest of the OVO army, you cannot say you're unbothered and Kendrick Lamar is bringing all this stuff back up when Drake is literally at the forefront of that. And it's very hypocritical to think that way when your favorite artist, Drake, did the very same thing for Meek Mill. He literally ran Meek Mill into the ground for like a year straight. Back to Back was going off for literally probably the same amount of time that Not Like Us has been going off. And no one was complaining then. Everyone was congratulating you for it. And I totally remember bot allegations following that song as well. So while I've already said that you've opened up Pandora's box and there's probably no way to close it back up, is this can of worms just going to explode in your face? Because it's definitely looking like that's about to happen.
Toronto Maple Leafs took a 2-0 series lead in the NHL playoffs. Drake posted a few things related to the Maple Leafs and their team, and with all of this together, what is clear is that the only rapper who keeps using their posts more than their actual pen is trying to hype his fans up and keep people on his side by making them believe that he has this big plan to actually win everything. And again, when Drake is doing this right now and trying to lead anybody into believing that he can still win this round 2, or even that he can even still be in a competition with Kendrick Lamar, which he so clearly can. I mean, come on, this stuff is just...
When it comes to just a competition of skills, Kendrick Lamar is going to give Drake the work literally every time. The only thing that Drake really had on him was the numbers, was the hits. So unless he's focusing on that, what are you doing? Because you're not going to out-rap him, especially with what we saw last year. Who's ever on your team at this point should recommend you go to some ayahuasca ceremony and try to find yourself again, because you have lost yourself. He lost his identity of being the #1 guy this past year, and this guy doesn't know how to act at all. And instead of making music, it seems like the dude is doing everything but that. And even though he dropped an album this year, I feel like he's worried about everything other than the music at this point, which is what he should be focusing on.
Just laughable. And as Kendrick Lamar is on this amazing tour right now and is just breaking record after record, and we are all seeing this, what is so clear is that as we are seeing the success that Kendrick Lamar is getting, which is objectively bigger than anything Drake has ever done on a tour, because again...
Can we even say objectively at this point? The dude is doing stadiums. Drake has done stadiums here and there, but he's never had a stadium tour. He's been featured on stadiums, but he's never done anything like this where you're pulling in night after night 50,000 plus people, which even in the smallest stadiums have double the capacity of even the biggest arenas.
And no matter what OVO tries to say, the guy never even did anything like this during the peak of his prime. Really, with Drake doing all of this while Kendrick Lamar is just running and
Because a lot of
advancing his
artists are
craft,
scared to do
this is
that.
all putting Drake into a point where it seems like now forever, Drake as an entity is becoming this weird name that is more concerned with doing these things that all feel like they are petty and out of spite than actually doing anything else with just normal intentions. Because even with the perfume that Drake just dropped, which is also funny because really the guy now is doing the most random things to stay relevant, it feels like. With there being dirt all over the floors in the trailer in Drake's home, which people thought was Drake trying to symbolize that he is still walking in all of the beef and dirt from all of the people who he has dissed. I mean,
Guy's literally blaming everyone but himself when he has had probably the biggest hand in his downfall. Because yeah, losing the beef was going to put a black eye in your career. People were always going to make their jokes. You have basically done the unforgivable left and right. You at this point have made yourself look even crazier than anyone else could have ever had.
this stuff is just so lame that I don't even know how to speak on it anymore. And at this point, with Drake dissing and sending subs to Kendrick and him being on tour with these weird posts, it's just further proof that Kendrick won. Because if we put into perspective where we are at,
I don't think we needed any extra proof to determine that.
In hip-hop, again, no matter what OVO wants to say, as one guy is doing a stadium tour, which is something that no other rapper has ever done like it. And then at the same time...
Now, we've had a few other rappers do stadium tours, but what Kendrick Lamar is doing is a notch above. The dude has literally been captivating the audience with just himself. The dude is doing it without relying on backing tracks. He's literally rapping every word bar for bar, even having academics gush over it and giving his proper due credit, because the show is amazing. And honestly, like I said, he's not too far into the tour. The tour is going to get even better. And from all the supporters in the comments saying how they loved the show and that it was epic, honestly, that's all I need to hear. Because you can literally feel the energy just watching the clips. And for all the Drake stans and the OVO army grunts that said that this tour was going to be a failure, that's to eat their words now. Because Kendrick Lamar has obviously proven that he has risen to the occasion.
And the other guy is alluding to music that probably won't drop or will disappoint, and then is trying to flex that the guy who mentored his rival thought about maybe mentoring him 20 years ago? What are we even doing?
He also mentored Anderson .Paak. There's a litany of artists that Dr. Dre has mentored. It could have been as simple as just a phone call here and there. Of course that would have been likely. Now, that's not the case. But I don't think Drake putting this out there is going to have any effect other than just making him look saltier.
Having this conversation, and going forward now, what's more clear than ever, the identity that Drake has surrounded himself and all of his fans in is now just fully embracing that they are the biggest losers you could ever have. And now is we are at this point where everything for Drake is just doing a move out of spite that is trying to respond back to the all-time loss he took in a rap beef. It's just...
That's been from the start of his career. The dude has moved spiteful and petty since the beginning of his career, which is why no one has come to his defense. Have you really seen anyone say anything other than, yeah, man, he's cool, or he's a friend, or I'm a fan? You're not really hearing people go out their way. Even Young Thug didn't say anything that could potentially get the wrong reaction from Kendrick Lamar, because the dude has proven throughout his whole career he is ready for the smoke and is willing to face off with anybody. And the last thing that Young Thug needs now, especially after getting out and trying to catch a hit for himself, is now to have the full wrath of Kendrick.
It's never been more clear that this guy is absolutely fried from the beef. And now what we are all seeing is that with this tour that Kendrick is on, this really may have been the last thing that just ruined Drake forever. And going forward, if we are only going to see more stuff like this, which it really looks like we are, I don't even know how I'm saying this, but somehow this downfall and spiral is only going to get much worse. And now if you are seeing this...
Fantastic hip hop, you've been saying that for like 8 months now. You know exactly how you're going to say it.
The one thing that every rapper and everyone should walk away from this moment knowing is that no matter what you do, don't ever rap against Kendrick Lamar, because he really will turn you from one of the biggest rappers and stars out to one of the biggest losers and clowns ever. And so now with all this said, let me know. What do you think?
Yeah, obviously that's something that he has always conveyed. Kendrick Lamar has always displayed that he's willing to take on just about anybody. I mean, do we not remember the Control verse? And honestly, most of it isn't about hate at all. The dude is just very competitive. He's friends with a lot of the people that he was throwing barbs at on that record. To me, that was all about competition. This is obviously something on a whole nother level. But as far as Kendrick Lamar's competitiveness, yeah, man, steel sharpens steel. Competition just, period, brings the best out of people. It truly does bring inspiration, whether it's art, sports, business, tech, all of it. Competition usually breeds innovation. And after what has transpired over the last year, obviously Drake is not meant to compete with Kendrick Lamar. unless he has this nuke, which honestly yet he has shown that he actually is capable of doing. We're going to keep getting subs. We're going to keep getting these plot twist posts that really lead to nowhere. I know he's trying to control the narrative because honestly controlling the public perception is probably the biggest factor in winning a lot of these battles. And he was already battling from a disadvantage before the beef even started. So to me, instead of just dragging it on, the dude should just focus, like I said, on a follow-up to Nokia. Try to string some hits together because before those records, it's been a minute since something actually stuck on the charts. So how about let's just focus on that and not worry about Kendrick Lamar right now, a guy that by the end of the tour will probably have one of the highest selling tours ever. Because like I said, these aren't arenas, these are stadiums, and they're doing anywhere from 2 to 5 times the size of these arenas. But definitely let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that he's going to add this Kendrick Lamar tour through the lawsuit? Honestly, it's just a matter of time. But they are most definitely using that deposition clip in there and say that Kendrick is still taunting them when Drake was doing the very same thing for like a year, putting it up on the Jumbotron and really milking that beef with Meek. But definitely let me know what you guys think. Definitely hit the like and subscribe button, guys. It does the channel wonders. I really want to thank you guys so much for continuing to make this channel a part of your day because it honestly does mean the world to me. And all the love and support that you guys continue to show the channel on a daily is probably the biggest reason why I make these videos. I really want to let you guys know how grateful I am. Guys, I did open up the channel to YouTube memberships. A bunch of you guys were suggesting me to do that since last year. I just didn't have the time, but it is now activated. So definitely hit that join button if you would like to support the channel even further. But even with that being said, I really want to let you guys know how grateful I am because if it wasn't for you guys, the channel wouldn't have grown as much as it has over the past year. So I'm really looking forward to what you guys have to say on this situation. Hope you guys love this video, and I hope to see you guys soon. And Drake, I'm going to say it again. At this point, you should just focus on getting some hits strung along together because before Nokia, it was looking very, very dire. And I don't really think round 2 is going to deviate from the results of round 1.